policy that visitors are now allowed to work in Canada. You enter Canada like this with your business visa, there's one job waiting for you. Even people with permanent residency have not gotten jobs. I know that can sound, not realistic, but the truth is, let money be the last thing on your mind. So guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be making a video on the different ways in which you can come into Canada, looking at the pros and the cons. Should it be permanent resident? Should you do student visa? Should you come through the visitor route? Most people always consider this. Please take note, I am not an immigration consultant. Everything I'm putting here is just basically general knowledge and my own experience. Please take note that there are also other ways you can come into Canada. There are some there's a refugee immigration way that some people use. So the first thing is PR, which is permanent residence. Now, there's a video that I did that I explained detailedly how I got my permanent residence, because that was the route I came in through. So I'm going to share the link of that video in the description box so that you can just go back and watch if you want to come in through PR. Because of how difficult it is getting yearly, like the score I used to come in through PR was 473. Yearly, it's increasing. Also take note that PR has two branches. You can come in via the Federal Express Entry route or Provincial Nomination Program. So Provincial Nomination Program is when the province requests that they want to nominate you to come to their province based on your profession or based on your skills that you submitted, and you are going to be obliged to stay in that province for a number of years. So I'm not really going to dwell on permanent residence. I would like to just move straight to student visa or study visa. Study visa is when you apply to come to a school as an international student, to come to a school in Canada to study. The study permit is what gives you the privilege to stay and say, okay, you're studying. Some people would go through that route because it's shorter, because you're targeting a resumption date for schools. In most cases, I've realized that the things that discourage people from trying immigration is always money. Let money be the last thing on your mind. When you start, you'll be able to count your costs and see how you can raise money for it. So it's very, very important that money is not like your first barrier. I know that can sound, not realistic, but the truth is money will show up. Especially if you're working, money will show up. You'll be able to start gathering money for it. And once you come into Canada as a student, your health insurance is just limited to what the school is providing for you. So it's not always 100%, and it's not the province insurance that you're covered under. It's just what the school will be providing for you. So it's different. And also for a study visa or study permit, you're only able to work for 20 hours per week. What you have is just a study permit, and that makes you able to get like one or two jobs. So your study permit is also valid for throughout your study period and 90 days after your study is completed. People use study to find their way to stay in Canada, to get their permanent residence. So it's very, very possible for you to come as a student, then use that means to get your permanent residence, and from there stay in Canada permanently and get your citizenship here in Canada. But it takes a process, and please take note that everything in Canada takes process. A very, very good outstanding way to get your Canada PR after study is to secure a post-study work permit after finishing your studies. So once you're done studying, if you haven't gotten a job after studying, you can always secure a permit. So you can target looking for a job and you can stay. And once you're already staying like that, you have more edge to applying for permanent residency in Canada. And when you're in Canada, it's easier for you to apply. Please note, when I'm saying easier does not mean it makes it quick. It's easier because you are on Canada soil and you have a degree, which would also increase your CRS score when you apply for permanent residency. You also have a work experience in Canada. So it's always very, very important that you understand these basics. If you're coming as a student and you start to study, know the amount of hours you are allotted to working for. And I also want to put it out there that there are some schools now that once they give you admission, all they require for you to pay is your acceptance fee. They can give you the opportunity to come in before paying your school fees. Because sometimes when you look at the scope, it's always a lot. And I always advise that you always broaden your scope when searching for schools because there are lots of schools in different provinces. It's not just Ontario. There are various provinces with lots of schools that are not as expensive as Ontario. So if you're coming as an international student through the study route, it's very possible that after study you can get your permanent residence if you do the right thing, if you don't violate any rules. I also want to put it out there that if you're coming as a student and you have a family, there is also access for your family to come in as a dependent with you. For example, if you're married and you're the one that gained the admission to come in, your husband can always come with you as a dependent and they are able to get work permit because you are here and you're studying. They're able to get work permit and also look for job and yeah, start working in Canada. And that way it kind of it makes your permanent residency more visible or more realistic or more achievable. So if you're looking at using that route to come, maybe you don't want to do permanent residence because permanent residency is so long and you're not even meeting up to the CRS and you feel like okay, you can come and do a master's program or come on as an international student, that could be a open door for you to come in. And that's the third one I'll be talking about is the visitors visa. Now they've been increased number of people are trying to get visiting visa to come into Canada because of the policy that visitors are now allowed to work in Canada. Please take note that it's not that easy. I'm not saying you cannot get a job in Canada as a visitor, you can, but it's not that easy. And this is my reason. Let me go back and explain what visiting visa is about. So, just like the word visitor, you are coming just to visit, and the intention is that you are going back. So, you don't have access to things because you're a non-resident in the country. So, you're just coming as a visitor, like you're coming and you're going. That's the intention. So if people are now thinking that since visitors can now work in Canada, let me apply for visiting visa and see if I'll get a job in Canada, then use that to solidify my stay to getting my permanent residency. It is workable. It is possible. But trust me, it's like 1 out of 10. What am I saying? 1 out of 20 that will most likely get a job. And you don't want to come into Canada and be stranded. Even people with permanent residency have not gotten jobs. Reality. They've not gotten job. You now think if you now come, that's people that even have SIN. You now think if you come as a visitor, you get a job. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just trying to be realistic with what it is really. So this was the policy that was established as at February 28th, 2023, that foreign nationals who are now in Canada as visitors who receives a valid job offer. Now, meaning it's not like it is 100% guaranteed that once you enter Canada like this with your business visa, there's one job waiting for you. No, it's who receive. That means when you come to Canada, you now get a job. That way you can be given a work permit without having to leave the country. That's what it means. Please don't I'm not trying to spoil agency work. No, people that do agency or they try to do business visa with people, they always sugarcoat it. I'm not even going to, they always sugarcoat and make you feel as if you come to Canada as a visitor, you can now work. They don't tell them the truth that is if you get a job that you can work is if you get a job. So always take note that it's people that receives a valid job offer that can get a work permit. Because as a visitor, you don't have health insurance, you don't have an SIN. The only ways visitors can stay in Canada after their visiting period has expired is if they get a valid job offer. That is when it will be interesting for you to stay and say you want to use that route. I'm not saying you cannot come in as a visitor, then pursue working, but it's not realistic because there are people that have SIN, that are even citizens, that don't have jobs. Yet, you see this no job, no job, no job. It is everywhere. Nǹkan tó ní kálukú ń wá, ó yàtọ̀. Whatever you're looking for is different. That's what I mean by that. So if you come in as a visitor and you're trying to use that route to stay, know that it's not 100% guarantee that you get a job. The jobs are always shedding off some people because of their stay. It's not that you cannot get a job, you can. Some people get jobs of like caregivers, some people get cash jobs. Another advantage, sorry that I'm mixing this up. Advantage of coming as a visitor, you can open a bank account. Well, there are some banks that open accounts for non-residents. You can open an account. You can do business. Yes, you can do businesses if you are a visitor in Canada. You can do business, you can do that. If you get a job, you can stay. You can get a work permit and that can make you stay. And once you have a work permit and experience, you can start targeting applying for permanent residency. So it's not like it's not possible. I just need to explain that these are the things that are involved that people don't always say. So permanent residency, you know that you're a permanent resident, that's PR, which I explained in one of my video. You know that you have access to quite a number of things, almost like a citizen. Study visa, once you come in, you get a student permit and you could get a job. You could work for like 20 hours as a student and no more than that, so you don't violate the rule or the law, and you have insurance that comes from your school that covers international students. And if you have scholarship, there are some provinces that offers better, acceptance to students. Like I think Quebec, a place in Quebec, if you're on scholarship, they will give you provincial health insurance. If you come in as a visitor, there is a very, very low chance of you getting a job. That's the truth. You can get a job, but there's a very low chance because technically you are not a resident in Canada. You are visiting, you're coming and going. So if you now get the job, you can now get a work permit that makes you stay. You don't have to leave Canada. And you also get other benefits because you're already working. And once you start working, then you can start applying for your permanent residency. So it always updates like that. The process never skips any. If you're a student and you come in as a student in Canada and you're studying, once you see that you've gotten a job and you're working, you still have to apply for permanent residency. You cannot change visas. Like you cannot switch visa. Like, oh, I got the student visa, I want to change it to PR, or I got a visiting visa, I want to change it to study. If you get a visiting visa and you come in, you cannot change it to study. You can apply. Once you come in as a visitor, you can now say, okay, let me apply to schools and see if they will offer me admission. And once they do, within the period that you're still in Canada, they can now send you a study permit that makes you stay. So everything involves processes, and the processes must be followed duly. I'm going to share links to the Immigration Canada website so that you can check and see all the underlying factors and the very, very important requirement that is required for you to come in. So I hope this video is informative enough for you, and I hope I did not scatter it anyhow. I just hope you understand. If you have any question, always ask in the comment section. I would always come back to answer my questions. Please subscribe if you have not subscribed. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for my next video. Bye for now. Bye.